Okay, so with portrait, Archana, we've done portrait before, right? So we're going to do something similar, but hopefully I'll add a few more things.
I have never done.
You've never done.
Yeah, because I've just joined, so I'm like a total newbie.
No worries, no worries. So even, I mean, though Archana may have done this before, I know her hand is quite static. So I want her to move her hand a little more freely. It always helps. Pencil sketching, portraiture, you can do for, I think, every day for 4 years, like you, as if you were in college, and you would still have something more to learn at the end of that. So it's a never ending process, which is good because then there's lots to explore. But usually portraiture is the scariest, I think, of all topics in any art form because and rightly so, because you're wondering how are you going to convert a person's face onto paper. And we know that by our own fault, that when we see somebody's portrait made, instantly we are able to tell where things are not looking right. So we put ourselves in the position of that artist who is going to be judged, and we judge ourselves before anybody even sees our art or before we even do it. So that's how we process it. So the problem over here is not the difficulty in the subject, but it is in how we set our expectations. So for today's class, we are going to start with very base level. We are not going to have any expectation of creating portraits which can where the usual expectations will not be met, which means, will I be able to recognize the person or not? Are my facial features looking like eyes, nose, mouth, or not? So we are identifying these and saying, okay, these expectations do not matter, throw them out the window. And yet we are going to practice portraiture. So what we're going to do is to enjoy the process of creating human-like faces in abstraction. So what this means is using different forms and different ways of communicating a human face. Now, we are all exposed to one of the easiest abstract ideas, simplest abstract ideas of faces, and those are the emojis. We have so many emojis now on our phone. And if you think about it, it's not actually a face, yet you're communicating expressions, feelings, you're communicating gender and age sometimes, and ethnicity. So all of these things are in those tiny emojis. So the reason why that happens is because our brain has the ability to recognize human faces even in random objects. This phenomenon is called pareidolia. So in this, even if you've got like a purse which has two buttons and a zip, in a certain strategic position, that will look like a face. It'll look like a smiling face, or the teeth of the zip will look like actual teeth. So our imagination can expand quite a lot to allow for something to look like a face. So in my reading, what I have come across is that the reason why this happens to the brain is because in primitive or prehistoric times, our survival depended on us staying connected with a clan. We are not by far any strongest species on the planet. We are actually very vulnerable without the right resources around us. So if we did not have the ability to live together in a clan, then we would not have survived as a species. For this, what is required? So apart from when we're usually doing our art, like I said, your brain is involved only in three things. It is involved in looking for food, looking for your safety, and looking for procreation. it does not pay attention to anything else around you. So even when you're eating food, you just look for whether or not it's edible and you consume it. But you're not paying so much attention that you will be able to draw it. Now, that is not something that happens with faces. This is something entirely different. Here, there is a social requirement. So when we look at faces, we actually notice a lot of things, not in terms of size and shape or distances apart, but you can tell tiny differences between one face and another. Sometimes even twins can be told apart by just a little difference. And if you think about it, we all have exactly the same features, two eyes, one mouth, one nose, but something about just the shape, the placement of the features, all of that contributes to us being able to recognize tiny details. Another thing is that the recognition is very, very quick. So even if you're in a large crowd, your eyes are flitting about and quickly registering who are the people you know. Again, there are social scientists who have said that this is probably because you have to figure out immediately whether you are in safe company or whether you need to exit that location. Now, having this in mind, you realize how much pressure we put on ourselves for being able to recognize a face on paper to be the face that we are making. And it's doubly difficult. It's very easy to draw and paint a tomato, because if you mess up with the proportions a little bit, the tomato is not going to feel hurt. But if you're going to paint a picture of your parent or your sibling or your in-laws, and if the nose becomes even a millimeter longer or wider, it can change the expression, it can change the person also. And now this has to do not with how you see the subject, it's just our ability to draw. So here now comes the skill development part. This is something which we have to practice and get right. And there's no other way to do it than keep making really, really terrible looking faces and terrible portraits. So you get that out of the way. Every bad portrait you make, you are able to see your own handicaps. Each person has a different handicap when it comes to making portraits. Some people make the eyes too close. Most people in the beginning cannot shape the eyes properly. Although no face is exactly identical on the left and right, we do not have mirroring features. One eye might be slightly squarish, eye might be round, eyebrows are different, but you need to be able to draw that particular shape properly. So you have to be able to see that in your case, what is your handicap? And in the first 10 pictures, no matter what you do, that handicap will present itself. So if you're the types who draws, for me, my handicap was drawing very long noses. So I had to then draw the nose and then artificially shorten it, because I could not see the distance on blank paper. My chin used to be very long also, and I'm looking at a face and I'm trying to draw it. And now these things happen because of how light and shadow plays on three-dimensional figures, and that can change how blank space looks. So we are going to get to this in the second or the third class this month. We are not going to jump into this drawing real portraits, but that is the aim. That is where we want to get to. But we're going to start off with something simpler. It's like a loosening up exercise of making portraits. All right, so let's start with making, and today I'm actually using just a ballpoint pen to keep it very casual. So let's start making a bunch of emojis. let's make, say, 3 circles. And in this, we have 2 lines, 2 tiny lines, and 1 curved line. Then we can have the tiny lines horizontal and a curved line the way it is. And then we can have the tiny lines at an angle. So with the simplest of lines, we are able to tell motion. Now, the same thing if we can expand it. If we change the shape of the circle and make it something else. And here we can add one more feature, the nose. Here we are starting to add some kind of identity. We could also add ears. And we could add maybe hair. So here we are now adding age, gender, and we can accessorize this further also. So now, suppose we have the same shape, more or less. What are the other accessories we can use? We could, let's keep the eyes, nose, mouth the same. There's practically no difference between these faces. But now suppose if we add Um, this could be just a simple man. This could be anybody in fact. And we have one more. Now in this, if I were to add Judah and a bindi, this becomes a lady. If I were to make this into a bandana, and add a mustache, it becomes a biker, or even one of those pirates of the Caribbean. And I could also do the same thing over here by adding mustache and long hair and convert this guy into a hippie. So the first task in understanding faces is to study all the various elements that give you an indication of the identity of that person. Okay, now let's move to a more sophisticated way of drawing the features. They're slightly different from or more advanced from what we've already drawn. So let's draw eyes like this. They're almond shaped. Just very basic eyes, nothing too advanced. The eyeballs look in the same direction. And then if you want to make it a little more advanced, make a dot in the center. This is for your lens. And just a circle in one direction for a highlight. I'll just draw this one slightly bigger because I don't think on the screen you can see it well. I have the almond shape, the iris, the lens, and a highlight on one side. That's how this eye has been drawn. Then you will have a fold on the upper eye, and at an appropriate distance you will have the eyebrows. Now neither of them are symmetrical. Symmetrical? Yeah, symmetrical. Neither the eyes nor the eyebrows are usually symmetrical. There is a slight difference. The size would be more or less the same. Another way of drawing eyes is also, you can go very cartoony and draw eyes like they had in comic books like these. Or you can have them like this, just the tops and a dot. Sometimes it's just dots also. Like Calvin and Hobbes has just got dots. Noses are usually very slim and tiny, so you would just have something like this for a nose, like a crescent shape. Then if you want a really exaggerated nose, it's somewhat like this. But what you do not have, or you should not, unless it's meant to be ugly, is something like this. This is really not necessary. Very cruel to the face. Another thing that is often done is no, don't do any of these things. You can sometimes just make a long line like that, and this is supposed to be a slight shadow underneath. You can also do something like this. This is also fine. So the bottom is a very subtle line, but in our heads, often we think we need to represent it with very strong nostrils and the little cartilage on the side. We don't need to do all that. Now, mouths have a lot of potential, just like the eyes. Always start the mouth off with the center line. So that gives you the position and the length. Make a short bump in the middle of that line and a slightly wider bump at the bottom and slightly flatter. You can change the expression like so, and then spread out the lower lip. Same thing with the frown. Then you can have very dramatic lips also like that, which can be a big upper lip and bigger lower lip. And you can keep changing these sizes. Also, the shape of the mouth can change. Sometimes you have this very nice full upper lip and lower lip also. Now, in the event that you want to show some teeth, first we open the mouth up. We'll be doing this in more detail later also. And then the joint of the mouth should not come at this point. It should come slightly inside the place where we join the lower lip. It should not come as pinched line like we draw the eyes at the corner. There should be a fold. So if I were to make this into a detail, this is the opening of the upper lip, and this is where the lower lip will come from. There's a little gap. And the top lip goes over here, the top part of the lip, and the lower lip comes from this corner. That's true. For the inside part, there's a little extra space. And as far as the teeth are concerned, never draw individual teeth. We will draw the teeth in a nice shape like that and color up the inside of the mouth dark. When you make teeth as individual teeth, it just looks ugly. It looks like something stuck between your teeth or rotting teeth. We don't want that. Okay, now this is only for you to understand simple shapes. But what we are going to do today is slightly different. We are going to make a frame in which we are going to try and create different types of spaces with just lines and very basic shapes. So let's make a frame first. I'm going to make a frame in pencil. It's not too large. It's just maybe about 3 or 4 inches by 4 or 5 inches. And here now, starting from the bottom, going towards the top, we are going to make different shapes and fill them up with different accessories. So start with ovals, but they don't all have to be the same. And you can give these bodies like that. But I'm deliberately trying to keep it simple. So I'm not making a neck and a proper neck of the garment and all of that. I'm just trying to simplify it. Now in this, just play with shapes. You've got 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Again, 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. And you can shorten or lengthen the distances of any of these spaces between all of these. So again, very basic, very minimal. But now when we accessorize it, let's see what all we can do. Suppose we add ears. And I put some rings on this person. Then maybe what I could do is put some hair. And perhaps even maybe a ponytail. Now, for her clothing, I could give her a nice V-neck t-shirt. So just by adding a few lines, we can give it a lot of meaning. And this can also be, maybe this can be a mom. And we could give her a sari maybe. A nice V-neck blouse for her. And maybe some jewelry. And she can have nice rings as well. And this boy can have short hair, and this person can have nice head of hair. T-shirt. So when we make something like this, the intention is to start seeing meaning in the lines that we are drawing. My line is going to be different. Your line is going to be different. And before we start making very advanced illustrations, it's important for us to at least see whether we can make a particular line or not. Now this can grow higher, and also I often add texture to make it more interesting. This is a great exercise for doctor's office or waiting room. Now behind this, we can create more shapes. And proceed with the same process. Now in this case, again, give them ears. And we could do different kinds of hair, like maybe this lady has an afro. This person probably has this fellow could probably have one of these severe haircuts like that. So this way we can start building a nice community of people. And also within these people, in time, you'll start seeing people that you recognize just by how certain features have come together. Maybe some of the accessories remind you of them. I'm just going to move my table a little bit so that light is not reaching. Okay, are you comfortable making this?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now let's try something different. I'm going to show you the position of these features in a face. And then we are going to make a sketch with a continuous line of a face. This is going to be an abstract sketch. Okay, so I want you to keep your pens down and just observe what I'm doing. We have eyes. I'm deliberately drawing it very casually. Then we have nose. So we have maybe a nose like that. And then we have a mouth. And all of this is in our face. We have ears and we will have some kind of hair. Okay. Now I drew this by lifting my pen at strategic places. But how about let's try drawing these same features in continuous lines. I'm making very small faces over here. So a continuous line like this. I'll first draw the outline and then maybe I'll draw the nose and then I'll draw the mouth, wherever it comes. Okay, another one. Suppose I start with the eyes. So you can go over as much as you want, and maybe what you want to do is try something like this where you don't draw the pupil. You can come back and draw that afterwards if you want to. But the other features, try to draw them together. Here's another example. Suppose I make something like this. So what I want you to not worry about the shapes and the symmetry. Some places your eyes will be a different shape, a different size, a different position. That will not matter. This is actually a very interesting, almost modern art technique. Thanks to the Impressionists and the modern artists, we can draw anything and get away with it, calling it art. Okay, are you able to draw this? Is it looking okay? Resist the temptation to correct your lines. Now, once this is done, let's try painting these modern art pieces. Right, now when we are coloring these, again, let's move away from our regular colors. We would color a face in some kind of skin tone. How about we go to an opposite color and paint these in blue, for example. And also maybe paint sections. And in this, I will then maybe add another deeper blue as I come down. One second, I'm still going to move my table. I don't think you'll see this. It's okay. It will move. Yeah. Is the picture brighter now?
Yeah.
Ah. The camera was compensating for direct light.
This is very clear, Aditi.
Okay, good. Now resist again using colors which are skin tone. And maybe we can make something that is red. We already have certain features painted, so see if you want to add some color around them. And what kind of effect that creates. So here now we are defying the need for using skin tone. Already we are not using the shapes that are needed for skin. And here we're changing the color. So this is what I mean by changing our expectations. So in yoga, our teacher shows us how to do something that's called a fallback, which is in any kind of inverted pose. When we're doing, say, Shirshasana, Sarvangasana, she will make us, of course, in a secure place, make us fall back onto ourselves. So that helps in losing fear of falling. Once you've lost that, then you can hold your poses better and you can experiment with all sorts of stuff in Shirshasana or Sarvangasana and whatnot. So what we are doing right now is a kind of fallback where let's see how much mess we can make. And the mess can also look pretty. So if you start seeing the good in the mess, then when you are making portraits and some lines go off, you don't think of them as a mistake as much as this will support you to make a line that is more accurate. So I refrain from calling any line in art as a mistake. Every line that you draw is a positive thing. It may just be inappropriate. It's better than not drawing a line at all. All right. Okay, so let's continue with our fallback. So all stuff, everything related to faces is pretty critical for our appreciation, meaning what shape you make, what color you make the face, and those things can be used to our a good advantage if you understand how the brain reacts to just certain certain aspects. Like, for example, a green face has been used in popular culture to denote maybe a feeling of illness. A red face is anger. A blue face is probably an alien. Sometimes a green is also an alien. Likewise, in many places, especially like I know for sure, Disney does a lot of research on how we perceive faces so that when they design their characters, they make sure that the character, just with certain shapes, becomes pleasing or definitely displeasing, so then they can convert that fellow into a villain. Drawing faces like these also is the beginning of caricature, of cartoons, and can be super fun. Now, I enjoy making my eyes very specific. So I'll make a circle, a dot, and a reflection. Even if I'm making eyes on birds and animals, fictitious birds and animals, I try to make them like that because there's a lot of emotion in the eyes. If we keep them blank, they often look rather scary. But you won't know this unless you do it. And it does not have to be the same for everyone. So for me, something could be scary, and for you, that very thing could be very attractive. In the end, whether it's scary or pleasant, that is not the point of making art at all. It has to be compelling. Is it compelling? Does it draw your attention? Does it keep your attention on the subject longer? And in that regard, it could be absolutely anything. Sometimes there's stuff that is really disgusting, which also it's considered art. And there's always been a debate for almost 200 years now whether ugly stuff should be called art or not. But it is compelling. So finally, in the modern parlance, anything that draws your attention, makes you think, that can be considered as art. So these faces that you see might remind you a lot of the faces that Picasso used to draw. And that was his exploration of trying to draw like a child. That was one. The other one was trying to be able to show dimension in one dimension. So multiple dimensions in one dimension. That's why his faces used to look really odd. Okay, how are you feeling about these faces? All good?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, now I'm going to do this one exercise with you where we are going to look for a face on Instagram. Not Instagram, say Pinterest. So look for portrait references in Pinterest. I'm going to be drawing one, I'm going to be painting one picture, but that's going to be directly in paint. No pencil drawing, no nothing. But I want you to first see it and then make your own. So we're going to do this 3 times. We're going to make 3 pictures here. I will show you one where you don't have to draw anything. And then I'll show you the original picture after I have made the painting. And then I will show you a painting from which we can make the picture together. And then you will find a picture of your own. So look for portrait reference. There should be lots of faces. I think my internet is a little slow today.
One looks for portrait images.
Portrait reference images, yes. You on Pinterest?
No.
Okay. On Pinterest, you might find better images than Google.
Once.
Okay, I don't know why it's not showing. Okay, even I've gone to Google now. Look for faces that are looking towards us, not sideways, not at 3/4.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, I found a very dramatic looking face. So I'm going to make this. So her head is slightly tilted, but I'm not going to make the tilt. But I want you to observe. Don't paint because you don't know which picture I'm making. So I want you to just see. I'm going to make all 3 over here. So it's not going to be really big. It's just going to be somewhere over here. Maybe 1, 2, 3. That's how we can make it. And I am choosing unfamiliar colors. So I'll choose a blue, a red, a brown, maybe even a green. Let's see. So this is going to be it's more a fun painting than an accurate illustration of this person. Now observe how I'm holding the brush. I'm not holding it flat. I keep making it dance around. And also upright, not like this, because I don't want very thick lines. Archana, don't paint. This is not to paint, this is only to observe. Keep your paint aside, and I want you to observe how my hand is moving. So don't be in a rush to make the shape, but don't dwell too much on it also. Just draw a line for the nose if you want, if you can't see the shape. We need to draw some really fine lines. So use a nice medium-sized brush and simplify the shapes. So I'm actually just playing with my paint. This is what we want to do. Just make a semblance of the person you are seeing in front of you, not necessarily their portrait. So what we are looking for is just getting a shape of a face. If it looks like their shape, great. If it doesn't matter, because that is not what we are trying to do in any case. Then, yeah, very nice. Okay, I'm going to show you who the person is now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it may remind you of this picture, but it's not anyway accurate. I've just tried to break up the shape and get some sort of proportion, but it's not bad, right? It looks pretty okay. So if you, again, break this down, can you make straight lines with a brush? Yes. Can you make arches with a brush? Yes. Now, even if they are a little wider or a little closer together, that's not a concern. Make an arch. Okay, so can you try something like that? Now, let's look for a picture together, and I will share that with you, and we'll try making this together. So if you get stuck, or you can wait and make it after me, so that I can talk you through the process. Oh, I don't know why I'm not getting this today. Okay, I'm looking for something with accessories and I found this. I put it on the group. Have we tried painting this together? Now this time, let's use orange for the face. And we'll start off with just making the sides of the face. She's got a very interesting chin. As you see, it's maybe 2 fingers apart, the line. It's not too wide. And then you can bring the chin down. Don't use a very thick paint. So even if you have to go over the line, it won't matter. We won't complete the top, but we can draw a line for the cap. She'll wear a beret. Now somewhere in this part, let's put a little line like the nose and make 2 arches like this. She has very nice brows, which is just a straight line and down. So I'm pressing the brush down. And with the orange, just draw 2 circles pointing towards the right. Circles or even ovals are fine. We can draw 2 lines coming down for the nose. And now for the mouth, between these 2 spaces, but a little higher, draw a horizontal line, draw a shape on top like this, and a shape at the bottom like that. Don't keep drawing it. Just whatever shape you manage to draw in the beginning, just leave it at that for now. Let's not keep correcting. Now let's take a yellow ochre and draw her hair. Keep looking at the reference image also. All the answers are in the reference image. Now we can take a red or a blue or a brown. And now this part you may or may not want to do. I want to show you how it'll look. I will put a shadow, but it's a very controlled brush stroke. And if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Because this can be very dramatic. Maybe I can take a blue to now make a beret. Now when you're making shapes that are very distinct, don't make the edge first. Make the line a little inside the edge and then expand. Because sometimes these shapes can be too big. We don't see, since we are not seeing her full beret, it might look too big if you make it from the outside in. It's easier to make it from the inside out. Now, when you're comfortable with your shapes, you can take deeper colors, like maybe a reddish brown, mix crimson with burnt umber, and add more features. Okay, after you're done with this, before we end, can we do one more? I want you to choose a face and I want you to try and paint it yourselves. I can help you out, but I want you to do it yourself. Archana, you could make yours slightly bigger than what you've made right now. And also, I want you to be very careful about when you make these kinds of lines. Don't make them very fast. Go by what you see in the reference image. How do you like it? But it's looking quite interesting.
Yeah, Aditi. I found one. Let me share that. But it's
How?
quite different. I like the lips and the eyes.
Yeah, this one is very popular. I think this is already an illustration, no? Or is it a photograph? I can never tell. Yeah, this is nice.
Like
Try
a
it.
photo.
It is a photo, right?
Yeah, it's a photo.
Okay. Yeah, this is nice. You can try this. Now, Archana, when you're painting this, now after making the firm lines, I want you to also try flattening your brush a little bit. Because everything can't be made with the tip.
Okay.
Yeah, so since now you've been painting for a while, I see that you're not using the flat of the brush as much as you should.
Okay.
Chitra, did you find anything that you'd like
Yeah,
to?
I'm just looking.
Okay. Okay, see Archana now, the hair that you're making, don't make it hair by hair. Paint that whole shape on the top of her head. Just paint it like I made these. Just, yeah. Yeah, correct. That's it. And just maybe one or two strands you can show from the top. Bus. Don't mess about too much. This is what I mean is missing. We do a lot more detail than is necessary, and we try to make things look too accurate. So how you could also have started from the hair, because that is so distinctive. Make a shape of the hair. So what we see in our reference image is very critical. So if this is the feature that is most recognizable or draws attention, focus on that and make that look interesting. Now, I can also add maybe a crimson or a scarlet in that hair to bring out more of that feature.
Should I try this, the one which I just sent, or shall I look for something else?
No, try it. Since we're running out of time right now, you can try it.
And again, choose like some other color, right?
Yeah, choose any color you want.
Okay.
Now, in this particular case, because this girl has such pretty freckles, you can actually just splatter paint to make it look like freckles. So it's almost as if those freckles have spread all over, all around her. She's the source of all this speckled world. So through the week, just try more of these. Look for images and do something in each phase that you've not done before. Start from a different point for every image. Use colors differently. Nobody is going to see the original reference image. That is only for you. Try to make this picture look interesting and attractive and compelling. So now, Archana, I can also see that you are afraid of colors merging into each other. Don't worry about it. Let it happen. Let colors merge. So don't keep the lines too disciplined. Don't need to keep the space between lines. Have fun with it. How are you doing, Chitra?
Yeah, I'll just show you in a moment.
Nice.
Is it visible?
Very nice. Very good. Yeah. Very nice. Cool. So try and fill that whole page up with different faces.
Okay.
And try men's faces also. They will have slightly different proportions. And if the men's faces will end up looking like women's faces, that's also fine. Your reference images are only for you to see. Nobody else will know. All right. Okay, so next week we will start a little more serious illustration, which would be more pencil sketching, and I'll give you more shapes of eyes, nose, mouth, more details. All right. Okay. See you the next week. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thanks,
Chitra.
everyone.
Thank you.